want to start or you want me to start?
Oh, I guess I can start.
Okay.
I guess.
No.
I like that though.
Why?
Or we could do the.
It's cheesy.
That is way cheesy. That's from Happy Days.
No,
If you know what that is, you know, if you know who did that in Happy Days, put it in the comments below. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Renewed Homestead. I'm Ben.
I'm Denise.
And we're out at the corn garden.
One of our corn gardens.
Well, this is the other corn. This is the
first corn garden that we
Right.
did last year. You saw us clearing land for another corn garden. But this is another corn garden that we actually started last year.
Yep, because if you remember, we had corn seeds from Thomas Jefferson, and we wanted to make sure those didn't get any cross-pollination. So that's why we had the one up here, and it did so well that, well, let's do it again. But in the time that the corn was ripe and we took it, cut them down and all that, then what took over?
Well, we definitely had weeds, but we also put the chicken litter in here, let the chickens in over the winter. So we did a lot to improve the soil, and the soil here is incredible now. But weeds did start coming in, absolutely. We had all kinds of weird species we've never seen before.
The rabbits like to eat it, but
yes, coming in. And so, I was spending time out here weeding, which you do when you have a garden, right? And
as much as you can.
As much as you can, yes. Now, one of the things that permaculture teaches you is to utilize nature, right? So we've seen a lot of channels use a fabric weed cloth, and that's what we want to talk to you today. We want to talk to you about some alternatives to a fabric weed cloth. Now, we chose not to go that route. Now, I understand why people would. It saves time. You don't have to weed. But I want to talk to you about some negatives of fabric weed cloths, and let me know if you've experienced any of these, if you've used them. Typically, they last about 2 to 3 years. Weeds will still find a way through the cloth. But one of the main reasons why we don't want to use a fabric weed cloth is it can actually harm the beneficial organisms that are in the soil that are underneath the fabric weed cloth. So we know the fabric weed cloth will allow sun in, we know that it will allow water in, but what happens is it starts to compact the soil underneath the fabric weed cloth typically. And what can happen is it can get, with that compaction and with the warmth that's coming through, because most fabric weed cloths are black, you actually start to affect some of the microorganisms that are in the soil, which can then really affect the plants that you have. It can be expensive. And another thing is, if you were going to rotate your crops every year, in a fabric weed cloth, you burn a hole, right? And let the crops come through, right?
I've never used them, but that's how I've seen it done, yeah.
Yes, so what happens if you want to rotate your crops? Well, now you're having to put in more holes or try to figure out how you're going to put different plants in a different pattern or however you grow.
Yeah, they don't all have the same spacing, so
yes.
You either just go with it or,
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, and I believe in crop rotation. I believe it actually helps with pests. But I want to show you, we chose to do what permaculturists typically do and what we see nature do.
Big surprise, right?
Big surprise. But what do we see nature do, right? Behind us, you can see our forest has a ton of species that are actually underneath the tree that are actually living in harmony with the trees, right? It creates a ground cover of sorts. That's what we chose to do in here. So I actually planted some clover, and we're going to take you in here so you can see it. But we planted a Dutch white clover. It just gets a few inches tall, so it's actually a really great ground cover. And guys, there are a lot of ground covers you can choose from. Strawberry, creeping thyme, of course, clover. You can look them up. There are a plethora of ground covers that you can use in your garden. I chose to do Dutch white clover in here, in our food forest, and in our other gardens. Now, one of the reasons I chose clover, like I said, it's short, so it's a perfect ground cover, but it also has nitrogen in it, right? So clover is a nitrogen fixer. So clover is going to actually start putting atmospheric nitrogen back into that soil, which is great for the soil, it's great for the plants, but clover is also great for the pollinators.
What?
You're eating clover? Clover is edible, by the way. If you guys haven't seen our Clover for the Wind video, it was at one of our beneficial weeds in our beneficial weed series. I'll actually post a link to that at the end of the video. Clover's a great plant, and our property is covered with bees. And in here, once this clover matures, it will get flowers on it, and it's going to bring in the bees and the butterflies and other beneficial insects, which are going to further help our garden. So just wanted to kind of bring you along and talk to you about some alternatives to fabric weed cloth, and really think about utilizing nature. Think of utilizing those ground covers, like Billy and Michelle did strawberries. They planted, I believe, something like 72 strawberry plants, and they've gotten gallons and gallons of strawberries from it.
Sent us home with 4 gallons.
Exactly. It was delicious.
Yeah.
So thank you all. But it's acted as a ground cover. So you have a lot of options when it comes to this.
Just shooing my friends away.
Is there anything you wanted to add about?
No. Did you want to take them through and show them what we've got planted in here? Because we do partner planting too.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
you want
we
me to
can.
follow you with the camera, or
Sure.
how do you want to do that? Okay.
All right, so one of the main reasons why we put the ground cover down is to control weeds, right? And you'll still have some weeds come in, and some of this has gotten tramped down because we were walking in here taking pictures, but for the most part, it crowds out the weeds, and it acts as a living mulch. So what's going to happen is it's going to keep moisture in. So just kind of like you do with wood chips, right? It acts as a mulch. Well, this acts as a living mulch. So it's going to keep all of that moisture in the ground. So even when we've got dry days, this is still doing phenomenal in here. And this is doing better than the other corn garden. And I believe it's because the clover's been able to grow up so thickly. Over there, it was virgin soil. We have some clover coming up. It's just not coming up as thickly as here yet. We know it will fill in. But
part of that is due to the chickens. The chickens spent a lot of time in here, so they did fertilize this a lot.
Yes.
Over the winter.
And we've got borage, we've got nasturtium, we have squashes, we have tomatoes, we have peppers, we have comfrey. So we have a plethora of plants in here, marigolds.
And the partner plants.
And the beans that are growing up. So not only is the corn getting the nitrogen from the clover, it's also getting nitrogen from the beans. So we have quite a few plants in here that are actually benefiting from the clover.
Peppers.
Yes.
Comfrey. I don't think we had any tomatoes. Yeah, there's a tomato on
Yep.
that side.
We
There's a tomato.
tomatoes.
We've got tomatoes everywhere. We really didn't need to plant any tomatoes this year, did we?
No, but we also have a special tomato growing called the giant crimson tomato. M.I. Gardner, they thought it was extinct. Apparently M.I. Gardner found it in a drawer somewhere and was able to propagate these seeds. So we have 3 of those tomato plants growing. So saying a prayer that those make it. If they do, we will definitely save seeds, and we'll probably go ahead and give some away if we can make it work.
Yeah.
So
well, and they are completely separate from other tomatoes.
absolutely
So
completely separate from other tomatoes.
No cross-pollination.
Yes. So, but just wanted to give you alternatives. Like I said, advantages: holds in moisture, living mulch, will suppress weeds, and you'll still have a few weeds come up, but not a big deal. One of the great advantages is when you do have weeds come up, the ground is moist, so you can pull them right up. The clover that we have is going to feed nitrogen into the soil, and it's going to be beneficial for pollinators. So win-win, win-win.
That's right.
Win. So,
And it's a whole lot cheaper and a lot less backbreaking than bringing in mulch.
that's true. And we don't have to lay out weed fabric. We don't have to burn holes in the fabric. And for us, and you know, we understand if you want to use it, we're not saying it's a horrible thing to do. It's just, we chose to do something different. I don't necessarily want plastic where we're growing our food. So that was a choice that we have also made, is not to integrate plastic. But I understand, especially with people, you know, that deal with a lot of weeds, I completely understand why you would want to use it.
And I wonder, I would imagine that the black plastic, or the black weed cloth, would get hot. And I wonder if it would drive worms away, that heat, if they would tend to move out of that area to find cooler ground. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't bother
Well,
them.
it can compact the soil,
Right.
so that in itself is going to drive them away. But it does put more heat into the ground because it's black. So yeah, I would. You can still get air movement through it, but yeah, that black is still going to.
Yeah, we know what black cars are like in Arizona. It's
Yes.
it's just that much hotter. So
Yes.
I imagine the same goes for weed cloth. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's a fine looking garden. Fine, lots of. I think what did we add up in here? Almost 100 corn that we grew in here.
Something like that.
It's about 25 per row, a little bit more than 25 a row. So I think we're 90 something anyway.
Yeah.
It's looking good, And there's our marigolds to help drive out some of the bad bugs, which has been working incredibly well this year.
Yeah, and we apologize for not getting a video out Sunday. Ben was actually not feeling well. He got pretty sick on Father's Day, unfortunately. So we were not able to get a video out to y'all, so we apologize for that. I'm thankful that Ben's feeling better.
Yeah, and I've been spending all the rest of my time doing exciting things like tiling the shower.
Yes.
Slowly, as as Sean the Modern Yeoman says.
Yes.
But we're getting there. There's a squash right down in there. Anyway, okay, let me back on out of here.
All right, so just a quick video on alternatives for weed fabric. Let us know if y'all use it, if you've had issues with it. I've spoken to a lot of people that have said after a couple of years the weeds start coming through the fabric anyways. Hopefully that hasn't been your experience, but plant ground covers. I know it's kind of foreign to us to plant it in gardens, but look at nature and really mimic what nature does. It's going to actually help a lot.
Yeah, it's working well so far.
Absolutely.
And I guess when it comes time, we can kind of rake some of it back and throw it right in with the rabbits. They'd be happy to have it.
Well, yeah, and there's no reason. I mean, clover will just come back year after year. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Exactly. It's pretty. We've got red clover growing here too. It's just taller, so we didn't want it competing with anything in the garden.
Yes.
Anyway, okay.
All right.
All right. Well, that's our weed fabric alternative.
Yes.
So, all right. Well, I'm glad I'm feeling better. Sorry for the delay in getting a video out to everybody, but anyway, there you go.
All right. Y'all have a great night, and God bless.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and we will see you on the next video. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.